Are these the best wireless headphones money can buy? Well, these are the Skullcandy Crusher Wireless, and we're going to take a look at them in the video, so do stick around. So first things first, let's take a look at what you get in the box. You get the headset itself, a sort of foam padded carrying case, a micro USB cable to charge the headsets, and a sort of double-ended audio cable if you want to connect these to your phone or another device wiredly. This is also a 4-pole connection, so it has a microphone built in, although I would mention that the headset actually has its own microphone built in anyway, so if you're using this in wireless mode, you still do have a microphone built into the headset if you don't want to take calls or anything with it. The headset folds up into a neat and compact form factor, which fits in the carrying case very nicely, and does mean that they're a little bit more easy to travel with than say something like my blue Lolas, which well do come with a nice carrying case, don't really fold down too much, and can be a little bit more cumbersome than say these ones. Taking a look at the actual headphones, the top is a sort of silicone plastic feel. There's a little bit of cushion to it, which is quite nice when resting on your head, and the sort of faux leather ear cups do feel quite nice as well. Relatively soft, relatively plush, and overall comfort wise on the head, they're certainly quite tight on the clamping force, but if you find a nice comfortable position for them to rest, I'd be fairly confident in saying that the majority of people would find these pretty comfortable for at least a couple of hours anyway. You can't extend the headphones if you have a larger head. It does seem to rely on basically just friction inside the sort of top of the ear cup itself, so just bear that one in mind if you want to keep your position very specific with it, but otherwise the overall build quality is alright. It doesn't feel the most premium of headsets, although the soft touch plastic basically everywhere is quite a nice feel, but again, it's not you know, the most premium aesthetic you'll ever feel, but at the same time they're certainly not in any way cheap feeling. On the bottom of the left ear cup you'll find the 3.5mm audio jack as well as the micro USB port placed very closely together, so if you did want to use this in a wired mode and charge it, don't know why you would, but if you did, doesn't look to be too possible just with the placement. But either way, on the back of that ear cup there is the effectively bass boost slider. The headline for this, it says on the box, is bass that you can feel, and yeah, we'll get onto that, but yes, definitely. And on the right ear cup you have the volume up, volume down, and the sort of power and function button. What I was actually really impressed about with the headset is a lot of Bluetooth headsets are generally designed around Apple specifications, so the central button that normally does all of the power and stopping and playing your music and stuff like that normally works generally speaking, but any extra functions like activating Siri if you're on an iPhone generally doesn't work with Android phones, but with this one, a double tap of the actual sort of center action button allows you to open up Google Assistant, the sort of OK Google command, which is actually really nice, and obviously with the built-in microphone you can do that too. Now of course, this being a headphone review, I kind of can't go away without talking about the audio quality, and let's start off with kind of ignoring this sort of bass slider and imagining that it's on its sort of bottomed out setting. With it on that bottom out sort of effectively original quality audio setting, generally speaking it's pretty good. It's a little bit flat in the bass, ironically isn't there too much. It's not something you really notice or stand out, and actually feels a little bit missing at times, but overall the clarity of the audio that you get from these is pretty impressive, and I think if you did pick them up, and especially if you're not someone who necessarily, you know, wants you know, a very nice pair of Sennheiser headphones or whatever, or has them already, and you're just looking for some relatively decent, relatively premium sort of wireless headphones, and these are pretty decent for you. If however you decide to turn up the bass slider, it gets a little bit crazy. I would personally have it a little bit, probably a third of the way up, as it gives a nice feel, a bit more sort of tone to the music, and a little bit more of an atmosphere around you, if you like, which is a nice thing to have. But when you turn it all the way up to, let's say, turn it up to 11, it just gets insane. It physically vibrates your head. You really don't want to have this up at the top setting if you're on, you know, a public transport or something like that, because everyone on the bus or the train will hear you, will hear the music, or at very least the bass that you're listening to. It physically vibrates your head. It's that loud. My analogy for this is the sort of people who buy relatively cheap cars and then buy subwoofers for those cars that fit the entire size of their boot, and they often have to either cut the subwoofer or the car to physically fit the subwoofer in. They don't bother buying tweeters or anything, and that's all they buy, and when they drive by your house the windows physically shake. that's what this on its maximum setting feels like. If that's something you're into, then fair play, but it severely distorts the actual audio quality, the overall audio experience personally, and I can't necessarily recommend at least leaving it on its high setting for any more than a few seconds. Now with that said, the overall audio quality, as I said, is very nice with the headphones, especially on a slight sort of 1/3 setting of that slider. It does give a nice feel, a nice kind of more richness to the bass than you get with it on its lowest setting. Almost feels like its lowest setting is an equalizer with minus the bass frequencies, with putting it on a third is what it probably should be, and then anywhere above is really kind of turning the dial up to 11. So yeah, that's my experience with them. Otherwise, in terms of functionality with the headset, Skullcandy claim that this has a 40-hour battery life, and from my experience so far, it seems to be relatively true. I'd probably say you're probably looking at a little bit less than that, but certainly if you're willing to charge it maybe once a week or so, maybe even once a month, depending on how much you use them, I think they're going to be pretty useful if you are regularly commuting, especially on stuff like public transport, where, you know, listening to music and whatever for your hour commute to work or whatever is quite a nice thing to do. Now, at the time of filming in the UK, these headphones are being sold for basically £100. They're retailing for 130 on their website, although it seems like they've got a permanent discount on them, so I guess you can basically expect these to be around about £100. There is a slightly cheaper model, the Hesh 3, which looks to be pretty similar, maybe a little bit less quality construction perhaps, and looks to have a smaller battery, but otherwise a nice comparator to these, and one that I actually use personally, is the Jaybird X3s. These are obviously in-ears versus over-ears, but generally speaking, in terms of audio quality, in terms of the general pricing right now, it seems like these are a pretty similar match. Now, I would say that the Crushers have better overall, obviously, range in terms of especially bass with the slider. They also have better battery life, although obviously charging is still relatively easy on both, so I wouldn't be too annoyed by either. It'd be kind of nice to see a Type-C port on here, just because of, obviously, if you are even using these on the go and trying to charge them from, say, a portable battery bank or whatever, it'd be really nice to have a bit of a more secure connection, less likely to break, but otherwise that may be just a Crusher Wireless 2 feature, for example. But yeah, overall I don't really have too many complaints about them. They're pretty decent build quality, pretty decent audio quality, and have some nice features and functionality too. When it comes to the scoring, for me this is going to be, I think, a 4 for value for money. In terms of performance, I think they're not the best in the world, but they're certainly not in any way terrible, so I'm going to go with, I think, a 4.5. In terms of functionality, I'm pretty impressed with these, so overall I think a 4.5 as well. In terms of styling, again, they're pretty decent. They're relatively subtle, which is actually a pretty nice feature of them, so I'm going to go with a 4.5 here, and in terms of TechteamGB score, it's a 4.5 and a gold award. If you're someone who prefers over-ear headphones compared to in-ears, personally I'm probably going to stick with the Jaybird, just because I prefer that style and prefer the comfort level that these have over the more over-ear style. But if you're someone who's interested in them, feel free to take a look at the link in the description down below, and I'd love to hear what you think of them in the comments down below. Are you interested in the melt your face off bass boost functionality, or is it something that you'd much rather have some nice subtle in-ears that provide relatively similar audio quality? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. As I said, if you're interested in the headset or want to take a look at pricing when and where you watch this, take a look at the top link in the description down below. There's also great ways to support me and this channel. If you want to see more videos, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I do videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and occasionally on Saturdays as well, so feel free to take a look at those when you have the time. There will be some other videos over here for you. As I said, if you want to support the channel, there are links in the description down below to Patreon or Amazon or Copies UK affiliate links, so if you're buying from those places, it does massively help me out. Otherwise, that is pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and otherwise we'll see you all in the next video.